Hi, my name is Daniel Scott. I graduated Stern in 2014, and I'm the founder and CEO of Daniels, which is a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand. So what do? In the beginning, we started selling an affordable leather briefcase to people directly to consumers online. And we're what's called a tech-enabled startup or a tech-enabled company. And what that means is, like a company like Casper or Allbirds or Everlane, we're using tools, technological tools that might have not existed, say 10 years ago, to run our business. So it's like data, analytics, tracking, segmentation tools. So we're using a lot of those tools that a more traditional brand, say like a Brooks Brothers or a Gap, might not be using. All right, so I'm here to talk about entrepreneurship. And we see entrepreneurship, the word thrown around a lot of blogs, it's on Twitter, there's classes about it. When it comes down to it, all it means is starting your own business. Entrepreneurship is starting your own business and all the things that go with it. And I think it's really good to realize that all these giant companies that might come to campus, or you might go work, like say Goldman Sachs or Boeing, Facebook, Tesla, Nike, all these companies at one point didn't exist. It was just someone's idea, and after that it was maybe one person in a room or two people in a room. So I really think, after college, there's two choices. You can go work for something that someone else started maybe recently or a long time ago, or you can start your own thing. But it's really, I think, important to understand that like entrepreneurship is no more complex than just starting your own business. That's it. Cool. So how did I get to where I am today? How did I end up starting Daniels? If you would have asked me when I was a senior at NYU, would I be the CEO of a leather goods brand when I was 28, I would have said, not in a million years. I knew nothing about leather goods or e-commerce, but I kind of just took whatever came next and ended up here. So for me, I was at Stern because I was interested in business when I was in high school. While I was at Stern, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. A bunch of info sessions, a bunch of companies come and do info sessions on campus. I ended up at a PwC one. I got an internship at PwC doing consulting. They gave me an offer. I accepted it, so I ended up there. While I was there, I decided, hey, I should look a little bit more professional, a little bit more corporate, because it's a very professional environment. So I thought, I'm going to go buy a leather briefcase for myself. I walked into a Nordstrom. The cheapest one was $400. And I couldn't afford that at the time, so I walked out. I didn't buy one, and I kept carrying my backpack to the office. It kind of filed it away that like, OK, leather briefcases are expensive. Why are they expensive? I don't really know. And then while I was at PwC, I kind of understood pretty quickly that in a large organization, you don't really have a lot of autonomy. As a 22, 23-year-old, just to be honest, you're not captain of the ship, right? It's a huge organization. There's a lot of people above you. And some people kind of have the personality where they want to be captain of the ship. And I kind of did. So I quit. And I thought, like, let's go do something fun and exciting. Let's move to Vietnam and teach English. So I went and did that. There's a picture there of me with my students in Vietnam. And while I'm there, I find myself in this situation for the first time where I have a bunch of kids looking up to me. And I wanted to look mature and professional and adult. So again, I had the idea, let's go buy a leather briefcase and look mature for my students. So interestingly enough, pre-Vietnam, I didn't tuck my shirt in. But then after I had students, it was like, OK, look a little bit more adult. So I started doing that. So I went, and in Vietnam, I was able to find an affordable leather briefcase that was non-branded. I was like, wow, this is great. And then I got the idea of like, if I could bring this back to the US and I could sell an affordable briefcase in the US, I think a lot of my peers at PwC and my peers from Stern, it would be something they would be interested in. And being in Vietnam, there's a lot of manufacturing there. I was able to find a factory about 15 minutes from downtown Ho Chi Minh City through a friend. And the factory owner, I had a conversation with her, and I was like, can we make a briefcase, and can you make it for me? And she's like, sure, I can do that. We started iterating on the design, got to one that I wanted to make, and then I said, great, let's make 400 of those. And then I moved back to New York, quit being a teacher, and launched Daniels. And my point is, I really didn't know what the next option would be until it was right in front of my face. So when I was 22 or 21 at NYU, I didn't have a grand plan. And I think it can be strategic not to have a grand plan sometimes, because when you're 21, and say you're making that grand plan, you inevitably have to make choices, but you don't know what all the choices are going to be, right? So like, I didn't know it was an option to meet a factory 15 minutes from where I live. I didn't know it was an option to say, go be a teacher when I was at NYU. So I think it's good to keep your options open, because you're not always going to know what the best options are until it's right in front of your face. Cool. So being an entrepreneur, every entrepreneur will tell you, in the beginning, you do lots of stuff yourself, stuff that isn't necessarily glamorous. So the picture with the trucks, our first shipment of 400 briefcases, I drove to the port in New Jersey myself with a U-Haul truck and picked those up from the port. The small U-Haul truck is the truck that I rented, and then there's a big 18-wheeler next to it, which is like what all the other trucks there look like. Why'd I do it? Because we're short on cash in the beginning. To get a trucking company would have cost $400. it cost me $80 to rent a truck and spend a morning doing it myself. And then the other picture, for our first 1,000 customers, I wrote them all handwritten thank you notes. Why? You're a new company, you want to stand out, you want to build a relationship with your early customers. And so this is an example of what's called a non-scalable activity, meaning once you start getting a lot of customers, you can't really do that, or you'll just spend your whole time just writing notes. But the first 1,000, it was really important. But I think it's just good to understand because like in TechCrunch and in the newspaper, you see entrepreneurship, and it's like millions of dollars and like all this really cool stuff. But in the beginning, you're going to do a lot of stuff yourself. Cool. So scaling. All scaling means is taking your small company and making it bigger. So 10 times more revenue, 10 times more customers, 10 times more customer emails to reply to, 10 times more inventory. So just getting bigger. And so for us, our scaling story is when I started about 2.5 years ago, our first purchase order was 400 bags. Sold through those, took the profits, ordered 500 bags. And then I'm at a point where I'm selling through those, and I think, OK, I want to grow a little bit faster than this. What can I do? Can I raise money? Can I take a loan, or can I do a Kickstarter? So I ended up doing a Kickstarter. We raised about $240,000 on Kickstarter, and that allowed my third purchase order of bags to be for 3,500 bags. So we went from ordering 400 to 500 to 3,500. And for me, Kickstarter was the way that we were able to grow faster than we could have otherwise. And we did this in the summer of last year. Cool. So you have an idea, you want to start a business, whether you have to order inventory or pay a web developer to make you a website or some software, or do some research and development to try to prove out your idea, you need money from somewhere, right? And these are the funding options which you generally can think about when you want to start your own business. If you're doing something small, like say, you want to do a sock company or like a coffee company, you might have enough money yourself to start it, right? Once you start working, you'll have $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in the bank you could start your own company with. Some ideas, though, take more money. I just want to touch here on venture capital as one. If you're thinking, I think we hear about VC a lot in newspapers and magazines. I just think it's important to note the structure of how a VC firm works. If you're a VC firm, if you're looking to raise money from venture capitalists, they're going to need your company to be on a timeline, meaning you're going to have to be able to say to them, look, I want to work super hard, grow, and then sell this to someone else, or go public, which is about as likely as getting hit by lightning. But like getting acquired is a reality. And so if you tell them, hey, I want to start a business and run it for 40 years, they're not going to be interested in that because they have no way to get their money back and then no way to get their money back to their investors. So you kind of have to know in advance if you want to take VC money, hey, I'm going to work, I'm going to sell this, I'm going to move on with my life. But if you don't know if you want to do that, it can be very dangerous to take VC money early on. Cool. And the rest are a little kind of self-explanatory. Angel investors are like VCs, except an angel investor is just an individual person. And they can be more flexible because they can do whatever they want individually, whereas a lot of times VC firms have like structures and rules that they have to follow. All right, how to think about funding. I think a great way to think about funding your business is what do I want to do? Do I want to order inventory? Do I want to make a website? And then think how much is that going to cost? 50 grand, 100 grand, $3 million? And think about where am I going to get that money from? And the reason I think this is the right way to do it is because every time you take money from anyone but yourself, there's going to be strings attached. You're going to lose some amount of control just because other people's money is involved. So I think it's strategic to take only as much as you need. All right. Is starting your own business for you? There's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of risk, high chance that you fail, but you do get to be captain of the ship. And that is, I'll admit, it's fun and exciting. I think I take it for granted now because I've been doing it for a while. But right, you don't get to be CEO when you're 28, really, unless you start your own company. So for me, I think it's definitely been the right choice. And even though you might say your company fails, which it might, say you lose the money, say you lose the company, and say you lose the time invested, right? Because everything you do is a time investment, say 2 or 3 years. The one thing you can't lose if your company does fail is the education you get. And this is a unique education that you can't get anywhere else, right? There's no Twitter you can follow, no blog you can read, no magazine you can read that's going to teach you what you could learn from starting your own business and running it. So I think of it this way. Best case scenario, your company succeeds. Great. You're successful. You're richer than your peers. Life's easy. It's the dream. But say your company does fail, which is realistic, then you have started your first failed company. And there's a huge learning experience, and you'll have such an edge over everyone else who hasn't gone through that experience. So it's risky, but if you like being the captain of your own ship, then I think it's a great decision to make. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me.